The birds are chirping, there's a pile of marking on your desk, and you've just found out that Billy has grazed his knee running in the nefarious rock garden again. The sweet, sweet smell of school is in the air. Education is finally back to normal. Well, for the most part. Across schools in Australia, it's being reported that teacher burnout is at an all-time high. We're seeing strikes from various education sectors asking for fairer conditions and a reduction in administrative tasks. Newspaper articles about student mental health concerns are being printed at an alarming rate. It's becoming increasingly clear how the role of a teacher has intensified over the last 15 years due to constant policy reforms, evolving curriculum, mounting student needs, increased compliance, administration, data collection, reporting, and the rapid advancements in technology. And whilst it's not uncommon for there to be articles in the news about the various challenges in education, it feels different this time. We've had 2 years of disrupted learning. I use that pejorative phrase, disrupted, because that's what it's felt like. On-site, off-site, on-site, off-site. It's been taxing just to find some sense of normality. Schools didn't really have the opportunity to think deeply about online pedagogies because we were just trying to get through each day and manage all of the complexities and challenges that come with a global pandemic. Now that we're finally starting to feel like we're back to a regular routine and schedule, schools are reporting that students are struggling to focus. Bullying is on the rise and learning outcomes aren't where they should be. It's simple to look at some of the difficulties that staff and students are experiencing at the moment and go, well, it wasn't like this in 2019. It would be easy for us to point at remote learning and blame it as something that's halted the progress of a perfect education system that needed no change or adjustment. But rather than looking at how we can go back to normal, perhaps now is the time to reflect and to make some changes. We have an incredible opportunity to identify the benefits of online learning, how our teaching practice shifted as a result of student learning outside of a traditional classroom environment, and to capture the voices of the students who have been engaging with this approach to learning. In early 2020, these conversations were happening. There was a fear from parents and teachers that students weren't learning effectively, and John Hattie was often quoted about his experiences from the 2011 Christchurch earthquakes, how it was necessary for online learning and how learning outcomes improved during this time. He said, "Let's recall the effects of the Christchurch earthquakes in 2011, which severely disrupted access to schools. There was a rush to online learning with a cry for special dispensations for upper high school examinations. As advisor to the qualifications authority that oversaw these exams, I argued we should not give special dispensation. I based this on strike research, which showed no effects at this upper school level with positive effects in some cases. Sure enough, the performance of Christchurch students went up, and as schools resumed, their scores settled back down. Why? Because teachers tailored learning more to what students could not do, whereas often school is about what teachers think students need, even if students can already do the tasks. The effect of distance learning is small, but that does not mean it is not effective. It means it does not matter whether teachers undertake teaching in situ or from a distance over the internet. What we do matters, not the medium of doing it." Hattie concludes his article by urging teachers to learn from remote learning. It would be wonderful to use this pandemic as an opportunity to learn about learning from afar. So share stories of success of teachers and students learning from this crisis. Pay particular attention to below average or special needs students, discover how to develop collective efficacy among teachers and school leaders, and use this experience to learn how to best work with all students. From McCrindle's 2021 Future of Education report, they outline very clearly, the future of learning is hybrid. 70% of students describe their ideal learning environment as a hybrid one, a mix of face-to-face and online learning. From all of the responses received, 10% of students would prefer to learn from home all the time. So that's 80% of students in total expressing that they desire to have online learning as some part of their schooling experience. From the report, 96% of educators and 94% of parents believe schools should provide individualized education, something that's so difficult to achieve in a school environment dominated by face-to-face whole class instruction. I can only imagine how difficult it must be for a child who thrives in their online learning environment. Maybe their mental health and well-being improved, perhaps they became more inquisitive and curious in their learning, and they finally found a place in the schooling system where they felt like they belonged. During remote learning, it was clear that schools placed a focus on well-being. They'd factor in 5 or 10-minute well-being breaks into the timetable, encourage mindfulness practice during the day in lieu of a class, and teachers would facilitate check-ins during the lessons so students were able to identify, understand, and regulate their emotions. The discourse around well-being in schools was evident, and the practices themselves were authentic. We know that wellbeing increases learning outcomes, so wellbeing needs to continue to be prevalent in all that we do. When we consider life beyond school for students and the uncertainty of unknown careers, traditional workplaces are characterized now by artificial intelligence, automation, and digital integration. Being resilient, flexible, and adaptable to increasingly mobile and technologically advanced changes is so fundamentally important for lifelong learning and thriving in their workplace. It's clear then that technology is an inherent part of how we learn and interact with each other in and outside of the classroom. I can't help but wonder whether being funneled back into a rigid and at times stressful and overwhelming school environment has a factor in how students and staff are feeling at the moment. In a time of rising societal complexity, how we respond to these technological advancements is imperative. Large and influential organizations like Microsoft, Apple, and Amazon, they're now providing permanent hybrid and flexible work arrangements and are emphasizing the importance of digital literacy skills and emotional intelligence in a dynamic, progressive, and highly virtual world. Augmented, virtual, and mixed reality devices are establishing themselves as tools that will become integrated into our environments and redefine all that we do. We're seeing an accelerating emergence of social media, artificial intelligence, automation, and machine learning, and we're learning that fostering relationships and interpersonal skills are more important than ever. Society is completely reimagining what it means to live and learn in the 21st century, and data suggests that this reimagining is happening faster than expected. 85 million traditional jobs are projected to be displaced by 2025, and 97 million new ones will be created. And I think while this sounds scary, it's nothing for us to fear. It just means that in a time of this shifting landscape, we need to consider how students best learn in the modern world. We need to look at the benefits of online learning and carry this with us as we move forward. Perhaps year levels learn remotely one day a week. Maybe they have Tuesdays and Wednesday afternoons where they take ownership of their learning and work independently in the school library or at home. Perhaps our 50 to 70-minute timetables are adjusted so students have longer periods of time to engage in inquiry-based learning and complete work at the pace that best suits them. Could we place a greater emphasis on teachers becoming content curators so that 5 teachers aren't all teaching the same thing at the exact same time in the school, when this could be done in a much more meaningful way? This would allow for those teachers to be able to confer with students and provide individualized instruction and engage in differentiated teaching practices. Could we embed mindfulness and well-being as a natural and authentic part of every school day? There are so many things that we could do, and a lot of schools are taking these steps. I'm fortunate to be a part of an incredible school where these exploratory ideas are outlined clearly in our school's digital strategy. We're being responsive to these last few years while also planning for the years ahead. Teaching online throughout a global pandemic is drastically different from teaching online with a clear purpose, grounded in contemporary pedagogical principles. We can't confuse the two. So, how has your teaching practice changed as a result of these last 2 years? What adjustments has your school made? What can we do differently to support the 70% of students who would prefer to learn in a hybrid learning environment? I hope you have an amazing day. Be safe, be well, be kind, and I'll speak to you all soon.